Hello, this is Dana, and this is my first video, so be patient because I'm still learning about this. I just picked a random fantasy doll that I hadn't done anything with for this tutorial, and I figured since she had some nice kind of soft but bright colors, she would be good to use. So I start with a gradient tool and just use some colors that I picked out of her dress, and then I lightened them up a little bit. And then I obviously am drawing in the water. Basically, the secret to backgrounds is scribbling. That's pretty much the most important thing that a background person needs to know is scribbling. Well, at least when you're tool shading. Pixel shading is a little more precise. But I'm basically creating a new layer for like the shading on the water so that I can adjust it as I want without having to do major, repairs to anything if I screw it up. So the water is pretty simple. You just use the dark colors to scribble, and then I use the light colors after the dark colors because for some reason water seems to reflect light a little better than it shows darkness. So then here you can see that I'm starting to make kind of a little sun because this is going to be like a sunrise. And then I'm playing around with the filters, but as you can see I decided not to use the sun. But if you don't have the GIMP or don't have a filter that allows you to make something like that sun picture that I use, you could just do what I did, except use the smudge tool and draw the sun rays out from the main thing there. Obviously we're moving on to the clouds now, and those are seriously all I basically do is scribble. If you need some pictures, just Google clouds or sunset clouds and they will give you something to go on, but you basically just scribble the basic shape of a cloud, and each one's just a little bit different. And then to make the coloring for the sunrise clouds, I just add a red or a red-orange at the bottom, and that indicates obviously the light source there, and it makes them look a lot more realistic because on one side they're going to be their normal color or something that's kind of infused with the light, and then on the other side it's going to be like almost a direct exposure to the sunlight, and so they're going to be a little more bright. And there's many different color schemes you could use this for. And as you can see, I do a lot of editing and changing once I do the original things because, for whatever reason I don't like what I did originally. The outline color, I think I changed it like 3 or 4 times, and I just decided that I didn't really like the way I'd originally done it, so I just changed it. And the easiest way to do something like that is I turn the lock transparency pixels on, which is up there at the top of the layers, and you can do that in Photoshop too, and then I just use the fill tool on the normal setting and I can change it to whatever color I want without having to do all this fancy schmancy stuff. So that seems to be the simplest way to do it. And so now I guess, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, I'm adding the light on the water. Obviously you wouldn't want to forget that because it's something that will make the whole background look like something's missing if you forget, one light source bit, one little bit of something that includes light. Now I'm changing the transparency. I decided not to change it at that point. Later on in the doll, or later on in the background process, you can see that I did actually end up changing that, and I made it a little less bright because I felt like it didn't look quite right, and so I made it a little more muted. And here I'm adding some more clouds because I felt like it needed something right down by the sunlight there. And then I actually erased a couple, just little pieces of the clouds there to make it look like the sun rays were kind of coming out around the clouds, and that just adds kind of a nice little effect. And it's not something that maybe everybody would notice, but it does end up looking really interesting when you're done. And it adds also to the appeal of the piece, even if nobody really notices it. They notice that it looks good, even if they don't really know why everything works together. Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm just sitting here. I think I had to answer the phone or something. So basically I do backgrounds, kind of seat of the pants, figure things out as I go along. Clouds were one of the easiest things I've ever figured out, and people always, gush over how fluffy my clouds look, and it's just a smudge tool and a scribbler with the paintbrush tool. That's all I do, and it is really easy. Anybody can learn to do that. So here I'm doing a backlight, and a backlight would indicate that this doll is actually standing in front of this location. So it just adds a little bit more realism to the doll. So I'm cleaning up that, so because I want it to be really even there, because you know, if one part of her was like really overcome with the light and then another part hardly had anything shining on it, it would look really unrealistic. So I'm trying to keep it all about the same there. And I erased it there at the bottom because I didn't really want it to extend beyond the background at first, but then I looked at it and decided that I really didn't like it that way. So I ended up going back and adding it, as you can see there. And you just basically, you scribble it on with the paintbrush tool, and then you smudge it, and then I went to the doll, selected the transparent area around the doll where I didn't want that to show up, and then I deleted it, and then I went back to the other layer while it was still selected, and I deleted anything that was outside where the actual doll was. And then I kind of cleaned that up a little bit more, and that's basically the finished product there. You can see it a little closer. You can see the backlight really makes it look like she's standing there. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'm sure there will be more. And this was just kind of an overview for you to see the basic idea, and we'll get more in depth next time, but thanks for watching.